I'm going to share with you guys nine of my favorite Python functions to speed up and optimize your workflow. If you haven't used these before, then you guys are missing out. And I guarantee by the end of this video, you guys are going to learn at least one or two new functions that you haven't heard of before. What? How can I guarantee that? Because two of these are only from the new Python 3.12 update. If you haven't updated yet, now might be the time. Stick around till the end to find out what they are, or just skip around. I put some timestamps below. Check those out. If you guys are ready, then I'm ready. Do me a favor, guys. Help me out. Click the like button, as that helps this video reach more students, and smash that subscribe button if you're ready to learn some Python. Let's dive in. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Code with Josh. If you're new here, then you guessed it, for obvious reasons, that's me. I'm Josh. Before I dive into today's episode, guys, just a quick reminder. If you're new here on your Python journey, I got you. The first link in the description, you can get my handcrafted Python starter pack, absolutely free. And it breaks down all the core fundamentals you need in your Python journey. It's going to help kickstart everything and make it easier in the process. Head on down to the description and get your copy of my handcrafted Python guide. Now, today, I've been thinking about it actually for a while. I want to start like a new mini-series, and a mini-series that I kind of wish I had when I first started, and I think would help a lot of students too, is a mini-series based around the modules of Python. Not like Pandas or scikit-learn or all these really big frameworks. I want to hone in, close it, I guess, right? And talk about the built-in modules. So I'm thinking about a mini-series around some of the built-in modules with Python. And today, I want to talk about one of my favorites that I've come across. Well, not really come across, but I've been using a lot more frequently in the past few months, especially with my teaching. As one, it helps optimize our workflow with iterables, and it's great for looping, right? When do we loop? Well, oftentimes with iterables. Now, this new module is called itertools, right? And it's the perfect module to get started and help speed up your workflow. All right, let's just rapid fire off my favorite 9. Over to VS Code. All right, the first one in my rapid fire is repeat. Now, repeat allows us to repeat a specific task a set number of times. It's kind of like the range function, right? For I in range. Range is to repeat a set number of times. This is half of that, but more. So coming down here, I've imported repeat. A very basic example would be like for I in repeat, right? It's working just like range, but now repeat takes two things. What do we want to repeat? Let's say like I want to see the number 5 and I want to see it 10 times, right? So I'm going to repeat the number 5 10 times. Every time this so-called loop repeats, I can still print off I. If you run your code, boom, there we go. I see the number 5 10 times. All right, that's great. Let's take it up a notch. All right, so now I have a list. I'm going to keep the same code, just turn it off. And my list has some values. Rubber duck, teapot, 1 sock. Why? Because that's completely random. From these values, I want to create a list that says something repeated times. So I'm going to create like a repeat list. And overall, this will be a list. But now this repeat is going to return me a tuple because I'm going to use the zip function. So in my list, what I want to do is I want to zip two things together. What do I want to zip together? Well, the first one, I want to repeat something. Okay, that's going to be like the first element in my tuple, right? What do I want to repeat? Well, it's going to say like repeat, just to prove a point here. How many times do I want to repeat this? Well, I want to repeat this for the length of my existing list. If I have 3 values, I want to see it 3 times. Each of these will be the first element. The second one will be the iterable itself, my list of values. Now that I have a list that contains tuples, because I'm using zip, I'm going to go through them. I'm going to say for index and value in my repeat list. I'm going to print off, and let's just say index and value. Run your code. There you go. I'm using repeat. Oh, the 2 dots. Where did I put that? I can just remove it from here. I could run that again. There we go. Repeat rubber duck, repeat teapot, repeat 1 sock. Okay, that's a bit more advanced. Now you can see how I can repeat something a set number of times with repeat. All right, let's jump into the next one. All right, the next one is really cool. It's called permutations. And what this does is it allows you to check all the possible outcomes of, or combinations of an iterable, which is really, really powerful. So in its most basic form, let's say I have something called like x, and this is our permutations. That's what I imported there. Inside here, I could put something like Python, right? If I mix up these letters, how many different combinations of Python is there? I have no idea. Let's find out. Now I can go through x. Well, x isn't really plural. I like to always pluralize it, so let's say like xs. So for every x in my iterable xs, I'm going to print off, and let's just join everything together. All we really have to do is run that code. Whoa, look at that. Those are all the different combinations of the word Python. All right, let's take it up a notch with permutations now. All right, let's say I have a list of elements. To keep it really easy, A, B, C, D, E, okay? I'm gonna create something called size too. I don't need a variable for this, but you'll see why I created it here. Now I can create a permutations again. So I can say permutations, but this time I'm gonna give it two things. Last time we gave it our element, or we gave it an iterable. What is it going to go through? I gave it a string, right? Python. And we saw all the possible outcomes. But this time, the first one is my iterable. Then I'm gonna give it a number, which is the size. How big do I want each combination to be? So for example, if I say size, that means 2. I can loop through again. So for perm in perms, for all my permutations, print off my perm. Run the code. Now look at that. It is returning a tuple because permutations does return a tuple, but then it only has 2 elements in each, not 4 elements. So it's all those different combinations. That is great. Okay guys, we're now moving into my third Python hack, or third function hack with itertools. My next one is called drop while, and you can see that I have a list here, super basic numbers, but drop while allows us to begin doing something at a certain point. Or, more importantly, it allows us to drop elements in an iterable until a certain condition is met. Then we begin to count. This is cool. So I have my list of numbers. Let's create a new list of like my filtered numbers. And on here, I'm gonna call the drop while function, right? And really this is gonna drop numbers until a number less than something is encountered. So inside drop while, I could say here lambda, we're gonna say x. While x is less than 5, I would like to drop those numbers. I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna print off a list, right? Because that's not really returning a real iterable, it's like a tuple-like structure. And I'm gonna give my filter nums. Run the code, and boom, look at that. It starts at 5 and it goes to the end. It's still gonna include 2 because I'm dropping while this expression is true. As soon as this becomes false, then it's gonna start our list. Okay, let me take this up a notch, a bit more advanced here. We can kind of keep what we have. I'm gonna turn off all that. Let's bring in here a more advanced data structure. So here's a list of tuples, and you can see all these nice students. We have Jeffrey, Gladys, Gertrude, Gertie, all the good ones. Now, inside here they have their name and then they have 60. Oh, you look at Ezekiel. Ezekiel? Now I want to filter through these, and really I just want to get anyone that has a score over 80. So poor Jeffrey, he's going to get dropped real quick, but the other ones are going to stay. So let's call it filter students. I'm going to say drop while. Okay, let's issue that lambda. Last time we said x, which we could say x, but let's actually say student, more readable. And while student, but the first index, I'm saying the first, it's the second in my tuple, so 1. So while 1, which is an integer, is less than 75, I'm going to continue to drop. As soon as it's over 75, it picks up. What do I want to go through? My students. That's really it. Remember, let's come down here and give it a list again. I can give it my filter students, run your code, and you can see Jeffrey was dropped, but I have Gladys, Ezekiel, and Gertrude right there, because that's where we picked up our new list. This is great. That was drop while. But what's the opposite of drop while? We actually have take while, right? Drop while, take while. So take while, I have my same list, but this is the opposite. So it's gonna continue to do something until a certain point. The same thing, I could come down here and I could say, hey, I could filter out my students. We could say take while. Inside here we'll have a lambda and we'll take our student. What do I want to continue? I could say while student 1 or take while student 1 is above 80. If it's less than 80, cut. So student 1, let's say greater than or equal to 80. Drop in our students. Come down here. What do we have to do? Print off that list again. Drop in our filter students. Run your code. You can see I have an empty list. Why do I have an empty list? Can you see why? Pause the video. It's because Jeffrey's under 60. This is never actually met, right? So, for example, let me bump him up to 85. Great, let's just run it again. 850. I just see that now. That's fine. But anyways, it has Jeffrey with a score of 850, then Gladys 85. But it stops because Ezekiel, he only had 70. So we're taking while something is true and then it cuts, it breaks. That is so powerful. Let's take a look at a few more. And the next one up in our series it's group by. Group by allows us to group our data in distinct groups. This is powerful now. Now, if you haven't done data analytics before, all right, check out my blog. It's in the description, all right? But there is a group by in Pandas. This is just like that. It's super powerful. I can group my data within Python. So I'm going to use the same list of tuples. Let's just I like these guys. I mean, Gladys and Ezekiel, come on. Gertie, that's great. So I have this list of people, and what I want to do is let's group these people. So for example, students, let's bump his grade up. So Jeffrey has a 70, Ezekiel has a 70. I want to group them together because they have the same score. The other two will be in their own groups because their grouping is different. Let's create a new list called sorted students, and I can use the sorted function if I can spell correctly. What do I want to sort? Well, I want to sort my current list of tuples, my list of students, and I'm going to give it a key for this, right? Because more specifically, I need to sort by what? Is it by name, A to Z, or by numbers, low to high? So it's by numbers. So my key here is going to be our X, and then let's just take the second element, X1. So I have two lists now. One is a sorted list of students based on their grade. Now we can do our grouping. So let's just actually call this grouping. And I'm going to use group by. Okay, what do I want to group? Well, I want to group my new list of sorted students. Okay, and then what am I grouping them by? Well, we're grouping them by the scoring, their score of what they have. So now I have grouping. Group by returns a tuple. Not even really. It returns a dictionary because it has a key and a value. But it's not really a dictionary, okay? But think of it as one. So I can go through it kind of like a dictionary. I can say for every grade and for every group in our grouping. Let's just print off a bunch of stuff here. Let me drop it in. Okay, so you can see I'm printing off my grade, and then I'm printing off a dictionary, right? I'm going through each group that I have. If I run this code, boom, there you go. I have 3 distinct groups, and you can see that it's actually a list now with Jeffrey and Ezekiel because they both have the grade of 70. Group by is incredible when working with your data. Okay, let's carry on. What's next? The next one is called count, and this really just allows us to create a counter from a specific point. So it's okay. I could do this other ways. This is just faster, right? I could create one called counter. This is our count. Now inside of count, I'm going to put I could do this. I could say start. It's going to start at 2 or 5, whatever. Every time it counts, it could take a step by 3. Watch what happens with this. I think you know. I can come down here for something in range, for I in range is fine. Don't forget my space. How many times do I want to repeat this? Let's just say 10 times. Okay, normal, standard range. I'm going to print off, but because I'm working with iterations here, I need to call the next function on the count itself. So I'm going to say next, and inside there I can just drop my counter, run our code, And in the basic form, you can see I start at 2 and I skip 3. So 2, 5, 8, 11, and I do that 10 times. So it's a counter. Let's take it up a notch. All right, let's take our list of names this time. Let's say I want to make a dictionary where the name is the key and the value is the number in the dictionary this person is. So like position 1, position 2, etc. I'm going to create like an ID counter, okay, and this can be equal to count, right? Where am I going to start from? Well, the start is going to start at 1 because the user ID will be in position 1. Then let's create some kind of like mapping because I want to map over, and I can do a dictionary comprehension here. If you missed the video on comprehensions, all right, I'm going to link it now, all right? And guys, comment below and let me know, which one of these are you guys finding most useful? Did you know some of these? Are they new to you? Let me know in the comments below. The key I want to be my person's name, and then I want my ID counter to just kind of cycle through all of these. That's cool. I need to go through my current names list because that's what it's cycling through. If we come down and just print off our mapping, run your code, I see the output of a dictionary by using count. I created that counter to iterate for me. That's fun. That makes it a lot more faster. It speeds up the workflow. The next one up is called cycle. Now, cycle allows us to continue to loop through an iterable. So, for example, if I have a list of 5 items and I get to the end of that list, it's just going to go back to the start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and just keep repeating that cycle, right? So a very basic form of this is I have our list of values. I could just create cycler. That's not, I can do that, I guess. What do I want to cycle through? I want to cycle through my values. So for I in range, how many times do I want to do it? Let's just say 10 times. And each time we do that, we can go down here. I need to use the next function because it's a cycle. And then just put in my cycler. In the basic form, what we see happen here is I can see the repeating. It repeats a total of 10 elements. Okay, so it doesn't matter what's on the screen, it just puts 10 elements and it keeps repeating that list. Now, if we take a step up for like, imagine you're in the workplace and you have a team of 4 people, right? And you guys alternate between a specific task, like code review, right? You could create an automation to choose who's up next. Let's do that. Carrying on with the names, I've created my cycle already. I could just print off something like code review. It's like the schedule, right? And then let's go through, let's say for week in range, right? So how many weeks are in a year? Let's say 1 to 53, right? It doesn't go to 53. Every time this happens, let's take a current. So who's the current developer on call? Let's get the next developer up in that cycle. And then really I can just print off. And let's print off the week as well as the name. So I'm going to drop in an F string. Boom, that's it. Now run your code. Wow, look at that. Okay, but you can see, right, week 11, code review led by Ezekiel. Week 17, code review led by Jeffrey, right? So it's alternating. It's fulfilling what you're asking it to, and it's telling you who's up next. That's how you can cycle through iterables. Okay, guys, the moment you guys have been waiting for. The new 2 functions that have come with the new Python update 3.12. Let's take a look at the first one. The first new one we're going to look at is called batched. And batched allows us to link elements together into tuples. So like, if I have a list here of all these elements, I have duck, yellow, tea, green, sock, white. I could create a tuple and link a number of elements together. So duck and yellow go together in a single tuple. I'm putting them together in a batch, right? This is neat. In order to use this, I'm going to create like organized list. And this will be a new list because batch doesn't return what we want it to. Inside, I'll put the batched function. All right, what do I want to turn into a batch? Well, my list of values. In each batch, how many elements of this list do I want? 1, we don't want 1. 2, 3, 4, all right? I'm gonna just drop in here and I'm gonna say I want 2 elements in each batch. Coming out to close out, all you have to do is print off your organized list. Run the code. That's really neat. Look at that. Duck yellow, tea green, sock white. I'm like reverse engineering it, right? I can take a list and I can create batches of these. That's unique. That speeds up and optimizes our workflow. All right, the final new iterable function with Python 3.12. The last one we have is called pairwise, and this allows us to pair elements together. So for example, like duck yellow, that's 1. Then instead of going tea green, no, it's gonna go yellow tea. tea green, green sock. That's like pairing things together on every iteration, all right? So if we come down here to get this to work, let's just say like linked file. I'm gonna call pairwise, and you just really drop in your list. That's it, right? But this is gonna print off something like a dictionary, but it's not. So I need to create a dictionary. So inside print, unless you wanted to create one on the outside there to use, I just need to use the dictionary function, dropping in our linked file. If I run this, you can see I have a dictionary now. Each key value pair is continuing. So duck yellow, yellow tea, tea green, green sock, sock white. Now that's cool. That doesn't really make sense because you're like, Josh, those are random words that you chose out of thin air. So let me change it up. How about I just drop in a new string, so ABC, and think about this with other data types now. Right? This might make a bit more sense for like A/B testing or machine learning. Think like that. So you can now see AB, BC, CD, DE, and it carries on. So I'm pairing up each element in the list using this new pairwise from 3.12. You guys now have 9 new tactics equipped on your tool belt, ready to go, using the itertools module. These are going to help optimize your workflow and speed up your productivity. Try and incorporate them in your current code. How can you use them? Where can you use them? Right? Comment below and let me know, what did you guys think of this video? Right? I'm eager to know because I'm thinking about starting this mini series, and I told you guys I have something really big for all you learners out there. Coming up, once I hit 1,000 subs, and by the time you watch this video, I may have already done that, all right? It'll come out at the end of the month, but this massive surprise is for you guys. It's gonna pair perfectly with this mini module series, and you can get my handcrafted guide. It's the first link in the description. That guide is gonna pair with this surprise I have for you guys soon. So head on down to the first link in the description and get your copy of my free handcrafted Python and Git starter pack, right? Use it, get started today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of Code with Josh, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode of hopefully my new mini series, or who knows what episode is next week. I'll see you guys then. Until then.